I need to just give them all of my money. Hi, I'm Charlie and I'm going to be sharing some independent publishers' releases for this spring. I've got 6 books for you today, so keeping it nice and short, and yeah, let's get into it. First, we have Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I've not actually read their stuff before, but I own a couple of their books, so I guess they're on my TBR long term. This book, however, sounds really interesting. It's about an artificial friend, so I'm assuming a robot, waiting in the shop to be bought and observing people all around and kind of doubting whether it will be bought, which obviously is probably going to be kind of a sad read, but I think that sounds really interesting. It comes out on the 2nd of March, so really soon. It's by Faber and Faber, which is obviously a really big independent publisher, so I'm keeping it just to that one for Faber and Faber, even though I do love them. I'm really curious about the story itself. Yeah, I think this is definitely on my list. Aside from this, we've actually got a lot of more, not obscure, but sort of smaller independent publishers and a couple of debuts, just to keep it fresh and mix it up. So I'm starting off with my big writer and my big independent publisher, and we're gonna get smaller from here on. Next is Fridge by Emma Zadao, and this is actually a play. It's about a woman who returns home to Norfolk after 7 years of being away in London because her sister has sadly attempted suicide, and she's returning to her family and kind of realizing why she left in the first place. I'm just really interested to have a play on my list. I'm also really interested in the publisher themselves. They are Reynard Press. They started last year, 2020, in June, and I'm just really curious about what they're going to come out with. I think this is their first contemporary fiction to be released. They do a lot of classics. They try and split evenly between men and women, which is nice for their classics. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Reynard Press and what they're going to come out with this year. Fridge comes out on the 31st of March. Now we have our only release from April. So on the 14th of April, 50 Sounds by Polly Barton comes out. This is by Fitzcarraldo Editions, which I'm just generally excited about. They just come out with really good stuff. I need to just give them all of my money. Polly Barton's a literary translator, and she moved to Japan at 21, so she's originally British, moved to Japan at 21, and this is kind of a memoir essay about her learning the language of Japanese and her experiences with the first instances of those words throughout her journey and her life in Japan. And I just think that sounds really interesting. There was an excerpt in the catalogue and I thought it just sounded like a really good piece of writing. So definitely excited about 50 Sounds. Next we have our first debut novel on the list, and it's Yes Yes More More by Anna Wood. And this just seems really interesting and creative. It is a story of a woman's life and it skips through it at intervals. It's non-linear, and it was endorsed by Carolyn Duffy, saying she's really excited about this new fiction coming out. I'll read you some of the flavor text just so you know, like, the kind of vibe that this book is gonna give you. 2 schoolgirls take acid before an English class. A film journalist shares a tea and a Kit Kat with Marcel Proust. An after party turns into a crime scene, and colleagues may be in love, have lunch, and don't quite talk about their relationship. And I just think, how do these all fit together? I'm really intrigued. How does this create one woman's life? Yes, I just want all of this. It comes out on the 6th of May and it's by Indigo Press. Next is Panenka by Ronan Hessian, and you might know Ronan Hessian's first book, Leonard and Hungry Paul, which kind of almost radically goes against the idea of a plot. It creates a story that is just really simple and easy. There's no big dramatic happenings in it. My partner just finished reading it because I got him it for Christmas, and he said he really enjoyed it. So I'm curious about the second novel. It's about a man who kind of exiled himself from his hometown 25 years ago, and he's 50 now and returning to his hometown to spend time with his grown-up daughter and her son, and he meets a woman who has come to this town to escape her own disappointments. And I just think, yeah, that sounds like an interesting, simple story. I can feel the characters coming through already. It comes out in May and it's been published by Blue Moose. They're based in Hebden Bridge, which is like a really awesome place that I've been to only once at night time for a poetry gig, but yeah, it just seems like a place where interesting things come from. So yeah, I have my eye on Blue Moose. My last book is a debut. It's a story collection and it's Am I in the Right Place by Ben Pester. And it's actually been endorsed by Evie Wyld, who wrote The Bass Rock. I'm sure some of you all know about The Bass Rock, and she said Ben Pester's debut collection is brilliant and strange. It sneaks around the border of horror, like an anxiety dream, but in the best way. I loved it. And I think, what better endorsement than that, really? Like, that has me interested. Here are some examples of the stories. Worshipping an imaginary being while trying to be productive. Slowly dying and having nothing to say but how tiring it was to build the kitchen extension. I think they're gonna be kind of funny but angsty and kind of surreal in some places. This writer does sound interesting and I'm curious to see what he has to offer. It's published by Boiler House Press, who are a small press in Norfolk, kind of based around UEA, the university. They have published some really good stuff before, so I trust their judgment. That's it for today. So just a little video to cover some indie presses. I think indie publishers need a bigger voice and it's nice to share their work because I think they take more risks and they're always going to give you something a little different and maybe a book that looks a little different as well, which I always enjoy. So that's it for my indie releases of spring. Tell me if you want more, if you're interested in getting any of these, or if you want to see my recommendations for the big 5 publishers for spring, or if you just want to see more of the indie publishers later on in the year. I'm going to be wrapping up next week and I think I'm going to be doing a seaside haul soon of all the things that I just picked up from the beach because I think that sounds like fun. So I will see you next week.